Hello everybody, I'm Scott Weaver, and this is the 2 o'clock interview hour for the Rehabilitation Hospital of Indiana's Foundation Annual Day of Giving. Welcome, and I look forward to spending the next 10 minutes with you and our guest, Dr. Flora Hammond. But before I get to that, I do want to recognize our champion sponsors today, Wilson Kehoe and Winningham, Dr. Dan and Cheryl Walensky, who's the CEO of the hospital, and National Seating Mobility. So thank you to those champion level sponsors. So again, I'm Scott Weaver. I'm on the foundation board. I'm a past chair of the board. I'm also on the hospital board, so I serve both the hospital and the foundation as a volunteer board member. I've been associated with RHI now for about 11 or 12 years. Which I just learned is about the same time, Dr. Flora, you've been here as well. So Dr. Flora has 2 jobs that we're going to talk about today that she spends most of her time with. She's the Chief Medical Officer here at RHI, and she is also the Department Chair at IU School of Medicine in Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation. And she's going to share with us some exciting things that she's working with right now as it relates to spinal cord injuries. But first, Doctor, tell us a little bit about what you've been doing. You came in 2008 from North Carolina, right?
Yeah, 2009, so 11 years ago. It's really hard to believe. One of my colleagues had moved down here around the same time and kept asking me, come out here and see what we got going on. So I took up his offer, Dr. Malik's offer, and came out here to visit. Met with the CEO, met with the Dean of the School of Medicine, and got really excited about the investment that the School of Medicine and the Rehabilitation Hospital of Indiana were ready to make in the difference for people with disability, such as spinal cord injury and brain injury, and they really wanted to make it happen. They really wanted us to build our program, build our research, and make a difference. And I wanted to be a part of that.
Yeah, cool. Talk a little bit about, I know since I've been on the board, in both boards, the hospital has just gone through an incredible transformation of what it really started out doing years ago in rehabilitation work versus what you guys are doing now. So talk about that movement.
Yeah, so that investment that I saw when I was looking here really has come true. So both the School of Medicine and the Rehab Hospital of Indiana have really put their resources and their energy towards building research. So we put our efforts together and applied for and were granted to be a traumatic brain injury model systems grant, and that really moved us forward. One of my colleagues that I worked with in North Carolina, I convinced her to come here and join us in this adventure. So Dr. Dawn Newman is our research director here. And all of us working together have been able to really make a difference in what we're doing for brain injury research. And we are taking what we're learning and then teaching our therapists the different treatments that we've been developing and sharing our research findings, and then helping translate that to the patients and the therapies we get. We've also started doing that with spinal cord injury and stroke. About 4 years ago, Dr. George Hornby came and joined us. So now we've got Dr. Hornby, Dr. Newman, and myself working on the research side, trying to push the limits in what we can do for people, creating treatments, and then bringing that to the patient side.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about what you were talking to me off camera about the new model or the new way that you're not only doing research, but you're also having the therapists use the same methods that you're finding in research when they're doing the actual therapy with patients.
Yeah, so the work that's being done in our locomotor lab here, led by Dr. George Hornby, we're using high intensity gait training. And so what that means is we have people in harnesses as needed and really push their heart rate and get them exercising to get them walking again. And we've taken our research findings and then taught the therapists to do the same, such that you actually get the benefit of the research here when you get therapies here as opposed to oftentimes we do research over here and then you still do therapy the same way we've been taught to do therapy. So we're changing that here. It's been really important to Dr. Hornby and Dr. Newman that and to RHI that we do research and then bring it right to the patient as soon as possible, and then study that and study what kind of impact it's having. So you can see that every day when you walk into RHI. You see people with contraptions that we have to get people walking, and at a very fast pace. You got to watch where you're going here.
Yeah, that's amazing. I know we saw one earlier when we were off camera before the segment. Talk about your vision for the spinal cord, and I'm not going to say it right. It's the spinal cord. What is it?
So the spinal cord model systems.
Model system.
So similar to the traumatic brain injury model systems that we have here in Indiana, there are 14 spinal cord injury model systems. The spinal cord model systems is a national database and national research that's funded by the National Institute on Independent Living and Rehabilitation and Research. And it's been in existence now for 47 years and enrolled almost 50,000 people with spinal cord injury, so that we can learn about the long-term impacts of spinal cord injury, medical complications, outcomes, what kind of things make a difference. And in learning from people with spinal cord injury, we can take that back and improve outcomes and just keep with that cycle. Well, we're ready to apply. We are preparing ourselves to apply. We have to compete every 5 years for spinal cord injury model system status. I think it's time for Indiana. I think we are set to be competitive in our application. Next year we will be turning in an application to do so. We need some equipment to do the research that we're going to propose, and we also need some pilot data so that we can show that the interventions that we want to do are going to be effective.
Awesome. And so I think we're about 50% of the way there for your goal of $300,000, right?
That's fantastic, yes.
Right. So one of the things I was talking with Dr. Hammond, my mother, who's no longer with us, used to be a nurse at Methodist Hospital and actually was one of the initial nurses way back in the early 1970s when Methodist actually started its own spinal cord unit. So kind of in memory to my mom and as my way of helping out, I'm going to pledge $5,000 to that fund today, and I hope everybody out there joins in with me and pledges some money themselves. I know there's a link that you can push that will take you right to the RHI donation page, and we would love to be able to raise more than $300,000 because obviously spinal cord injuries affect almost all of us, and Dr. Hammond's work is phenomenal.
Well, Scott, my family and I would like to match that.
That's great.
So we'll donate $5,000 also. That'll get us towards our goal, making us competitive for spinal cord model system.
Great. Well, thank you again, Dr. Hammond. I appreciate it. It's always fun to see you, and I love hearing about your work. Again, there's a link. Please click on that link and help RHI achieve their goals so we can continue to provide outstanding therapy and solutions to our community here in Indianapolis.